Chapter 8. Thanks for joining me again. I think we're over halfway now in the book. I may skip over a chapter coming up just because, like I said, the immediacy is not quite there, and then he talks about some online stuff, so I think that's a little bit more relevant for the time, obviously. And I think moving forward, I'm going to be talking more about online promotion. Probably going to be breaking down a book about how to, use social media as a musician or something like that. So this chapter is touring again. The immediacy isn't there, but it's still great information. This book is unreal. Like, it's I've said this before, but I really wish that I had studied something like this when I was really doing my artist thing, and I plan probably next year to get back more on the artist tip. But I was just like doing my artist thing. I was more focused on the craft and not worried about the business. I suppose I wasn't really good enough to be really pushing myself out there anyways, but I definitely have some regrets that I left it as late as I did. So learn from my mistake, and no matter where you're at in your career, get this foundational stuff so you know how to make moves as you hone your craft. So touring. Too many artists, and I've seen artists do this, go on tour just because you want to build up a fan base before you go touring. It can be, I've heard really depressing stories about touring before you're ready, and you end up driving all night, playing to empty bars, and sleeping on someone's sofa. And it's like, especially with the internet, you don't need to do that to yourself. So build up a fan base and then tour where that fan base is. And you can decide where to tour by, checking through Spotify. Streaming services provide really good metrics of where your listenership is, and then you can go on tour to those places and market to those places. And it's just a really streamlined way of figuring things out. Whereas before this kind of data, you'd have to dig through all that stuff yourself. Or you'd have to guess. So this is a really, really good way to just make sure you're getting to where your fans are. If you're going to be booking a national tour, and he's talking specifically for the United States, you should start the process 5 months ahead of time, especially if you're a new artist. And the routing will never be perfect, so you have to accept that, but try and make it as good as possible in terms of as few days backtracking and as few days off as possible. One good way, and I've heard this from other people, not just Ari, but like a good way to get in at a city is to offer artists in their hometown to play a gig with them and say, if you come to my hometown, you can open for me. And you always want to have the local headliner play last, because you don't want everyone to be at the gig for you and then they leave when the out-of-town headliner comes on. Obviously, if you're a big artist, that's different, but as you're growing your fan base, make sure the local headliner is always playing last. Make sure that you don't overextend yourself on this one. Because you don't want to have like 10 people that you've promised these kind of gigs for, and you only play a show every 2 months. It's going to be tough to pay those back, and also make sure that when you do pay it back, it's going to be a quality show. So try not to overextend yourself with that. Be wise when you're making those promises, but it's a good way to get in another city. The first few times you go through a city, you're probably not going to get any guarantees. You're probably just going to have to take what you can get, and that's just sort of the way the cookie crumbles. But this is all part of just like grinding it out. So cover sets, if you have like 3 to 4 hours of material for cover sets as a band or even as a solo performer, it's like it's a good way to fill holes in your schedule. And if you have a night off, you can play 3 to 4 hours at some like truck stop kind of gig, and people are more likely to pay you a guarantee because you're doing covers. So they don't expect you to bring an audience or anything like that. You're just there for entertainment. And they may even be able to supply lodging for you, which would be another bonus. So just something to consider if you do happen to have a lot of like cover material. Now, this next section is something that I'm really excited about because I feel like it's something I might do in the next year or so. How to do successful house shows. It's a pretty cool way to set up a show, especially if you're a small-time artist. All you need is one person in a city that really likes your music and is willing to like set up a venue in their house. You play for 20 people or so, and you make sure that you like organize a guarantee. Or you play in the backyard. You may have to rearrange your music to suit the venue. They're going through a really massive resurgence. I know where I'm at, there's like a whole company, or not a company, but organization that sets up house shows. So, and they're not just like wild house party shows. It's like a genuine professional setup. They can be really intimate and profitable, and you can develop really deep relationships with the audience members because it is such an intimate show. You know, you can turn people into super fans with one show because because it's so intimate. Look up the book No Booker, No Bouncer, No Bartender: How I Made $25K in 2 months on a House Tour. Set a guarantee and percentage of tickets. Designate Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon 2 to 3 months in advance, and so that you give hosts plenty of time to get ready for the show. Now, like he says, Friday, Saturday, Sunday afternoon, that's the one like hindrance of doing these house shows, is you're gonna have to settle for weekend days because most people aren't going to be setting up shows in their own homes on weekdays. He also says make sure you get the email of everybody who comes, which should be easy because it'll be an intimate environment. The final part of this chapter, and I've seen people really jumpstart their careers with this: opening tours. So if a mid-level artist or a big artist is looking for someone to open up their tour, you can really jumpstart your career. And because you'll be performing to a bunch of new people every night that aren't necessarily in your audience, they are the headliner's audience, you can sell a lot of merch. And I've seen people sell a lot of merch with this kind of stuff. So getting booked relies a lot on connection, being connected locally throughout the industry. So think about that. And sometimes you have to pay up front for headlining, to the headlining act to bring you on tour, and you just have to crunch numbers with the merch per head numbers that he gives in the previous chapter. Crunch the numbers and see if you can make it worth it, because you may be able to make your money back, and you also may gain enough fans to make it really worth your while. And I've seen people like pop off because of this. So something really to consider. This is different than a shitty pay-to-play gig, because you're actually getting serious value if you set this up right. So that's it for touring. And yeah, I look forward to getting into the next one that I'm going to do is going to be sponsors and investments. And then there's some online stuff as well that he talks about. Other than that, I'm just looking forward to diving more and more into this stuff, and I hope that people are getting value out of it, because there's so much information in these videos and in this book, and I really hope people are checking for it. All right, take care.